We often view history as a continuous journey of development, where each generation surpasses the previous one. But if you look closer to the past, you'll discover a surprising truth. Before the modern world, there were civilizations with meticulously planned cities, advanced water and sanitation systems, vast trade networks, and structures that would amaze even modern-day people. Yet many of these civilizations vanished from the historical stage. What happened to them? Why did such once powerful and developed societies decline or disappear? In today's journey, we will explore 5 of the most mysterious ancient civilizations that ever existed, from Mohenjo-daro, Clovis, Minoan, Angkor, to Petra, to understand how these seemingly immortal worlds gradually vanished over time. Our first stop on this journey takes us to the Indus River Valley in what is now Pakistan. Here, a city once existed that astonished many archaeologists when it was discovered in the early 20th century. That city, Mohenjo-daro, was one of the largest centers of the Indus civilization, dating back approximately 4,500 years. What makes Mohenjo-daro special is its level of development, far exceeding what one would typically imagine for the ancient world. While many settlements of the time developed spontaneously, Mohenjo-daro was planned according to a clear scheme. The streets were laid out in a grid pattern, with relatively regular intersections. Many houses were built of standard-sized fired bricks, indicating that the inhabitants had adopted unified building standards on a large scale. Furthermore, the city boasts an incredibly well-designed underground sewer system. Wastewater from households is channeled into covered drainage channels running along the streets. Many houses even have private bathrooms, a rare amenity in most civilizations of the time. These features demonstrate the Mohenjo-daro people's deep concern for urban hygiene and quality of life. Furthermore, archaeological evidence suggests that the city was a crucial link in a vast trade network. Goods from various regions were exchanged through trade routes connecting the Indus civilization with distant lands. All these factors make Mohenjo-daro one of the most advanced cities of the ancient world. Yet this once thriving place holds one of the most controversial mysteries in archaeology. When researchers excavated the city, they discovered numerous skeletons in unusual locations. Some skeletons were found right on the streets or within residential areas, as if these people had died quickly and were not buried according to standard rituals. Furthermore, some areas show signs that the materials were subjected to extremely high temperatures. This has given rise to various theories about the cause of the city's collapse. Notably, archaeologists have found no clear evidence of a large-scale war or invasion that could explain the entire event. Today, most scientists believe that the decline of Mohenjo-daro was linked to changes in the river's course in the area, combined with repeated flooding and prolonged environmental changes. However, many questions remain unanswered. And it is this ambiguity that makes Mohenjo-daro one of the most mysterious cities in history. But however mysterious it may be, the city at least left behind walls and streets to tell its story. The subsequent culture almost vanished from history, to the point that only a few stone tools remain as evidence of their existence. While Mohenjo-daro left behind massive ruins for archaeologists to study, the next culture was mysterious in a completely different way. They didn't leave behind brick cities, colossal structures, or written records. Yet, the traces they left behind are enough to prove that this was once one of the most successful communities of prehistoric North America, the Clovis people. The Clovis people lived in North America approximately 13,000 years ago, during the late Ice Age. What we know about them comes primarily from stone tools found at numerous archaeological sites across the continent. What amazes researchers is the remarkable level of craftsmanship of these artifacts. The Clovis people were renowned for their exquisitely crafted stone spearheads. These tools had distinctive shapes and were manufactured with surprising precision for a society that lacked metalworking. Many experts believe that creating such spearheads required skill and experience accumulated over generations. Thanks to their effective tools, the Clovis people became excellent hunters. They were capable of hunting the giant animals that once dominated North America, including mammoths, bison, and many other large animals. To accomplish this, they needed not only good weapons but also a deep understanding of the natural environment, animal behavior, and climate change. Within a relatively short period, the Clovis people spread across a vast area. This demonstrates their remarkable adaptability to a wide variety of environments. However, the greatest mystery lies in what happened afterward. Around 12,800 years ago, traces of the Clovis culture began to disappear from the archaeological record. At the same time, many of the giant animals they once hunted also became extinct. This remarkable coincidence led scientists to question a major event that may have affected both humans and the ecosystem. Some researchers suggest the cause may be related to a celestial collision. According to this hypothesis, a meteorite or debris from a comet struck Earth or exploded in the atmosphere, causing widespread wildfires. The fires may have spread across large areas of North America, creating severe environmental changes. This hypothesis is also linked to the sudden cold spell known as the Younger Dryas. Over a short period, temperatures in many areas of the Earth dropped sharply, creating major climate fluctuations. If this event was indeed linked to a space catastrophe, its consequences could have directly impacted the food sources, habitat, and survival of the Clovis people. To this day, the exact cause of the Clovis people's disappearance remains a subject of debate. But if a culture can vanish after sudden changes in nature, the following story reveals something even more thought-provoking. A highly developed civilization sometimes doesn't collapse in a single day, but weakens gradually over generations before disappearing from history. If the story of the Clovis people shows how a culture can be swept away by sudden natural upheavals, the next civilization poses a different question. What happens when a thriving society is not wiped out in a single catastrophe, but gradually weakens over generations? To find the answer, we must turn to the island of Crete, once the center of the Minoan civilization. Around 3,500 years ago, the Minoans built one of the most advanced civilizations of ancient Europe. From an island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, they developed a vast trade network and controlled many important shipping lanes. This strategic location helped the Minoans become one of the first maritime powers in European history. Their most famous symbol is the Knossos Palace, a massive architectural complex with hundreds of intricately arranged rooms. Inside the palace, archaeologists have also discovered an incredibly advanced water supply and drainage system for that era. The Minoans also left behind exquisite works of art, high-quality pottery, and much evidence demonstrating a highly developed level of craftsmanship. One of the greatest mysteries of this civilization is its linear A writing system. To this day, researchers have not been able to fully decipher it. This means that a large part of the Minoan story remains locked within the past. For many years, the most popular theory was that the Minoan civilization declined after the massive eruption of Mount Santorini near Crete. This was one of the most powerful eruptions in human history, and certainly had serious impacts on the Mediterranean region. However, modern research suggests the story may be far more complex. Archaeological evidence indicates that the Minoans continued to exist for a considerable time after the catastrophe. Instead of being annihilated immediately, they may have faced prolonged droughts, climate change, and economic decline for generations. Ultimately, the culture that once dominated the Mediterranean did not disappear in an instant. The Minoans gradually weakened, were absorbed by other civilizations, and faded from history. But if the Minoan story shows that climate can shake a powerful civilization, the following story will show how an entire megacity can collapse from the very system that once made it powerful. If the Minoan civilization showed how a society can gradually weaken under the influence of environment and time, Angkor is proof of something even more thought-provoking. Sometimes, the very systems that once constituted the strength of a civilization can become its weakness when conditions change. During its heyday, Angkor was the center of the Khmer Empire and considered one of the largest medieval cities in the world. Located in present-day Cambodia, Angkor was once home to hundreds of thousands, even nearly 1 million people. This scale made the city one of the most densely populated and complex metropolises of its time. Angkor's most famous symbol is Angkor Wat, the massive temple complex that still stands today. However, the city's true strength lies not just in its architecture. The foundation of Angkor lies in its extensive water management system, built over generations. The Khmer people created a vast network of reservoirs, canals, and water management structures. This system helped store water during the rainy season and distribute it during the dry season. Thanks to this effective water management, Angkor was able to maintain a highly productive agricultural system and feed a very large population. For a long time, many believed that Angkor's collapse was primarily due to war and external invasions. However, modern research has painted a different picture. Instead of being destroyed by a single event, the city appears to have weakened gradually over decades. Climate evidence shows that the region has experienced unusually prolonged periods of drought, followed by successive periods of heavy rainfall and flooding. These extreme fluctuations place immense pressure on irrigation systems designed to operate under more stable conditions. Over time, the water management network has become increasingly ineffective and difficult to maintain. At the same time, the Khmer ruling class gradually shifted the center of power to other areas more favorable for trade and administration. As the ruling class departed, Angkor began to lose its central role. Angkor did not die in a single day. The city did not vanish in the flames of war or a single catastrophe. Instead, it was abandoned, step by step, until the jungle gradually covered the roads, temples, and canals that were once the pride of an entire empire. But if Angkor was swallowed by the rainforest, the next civilization disappeared into the desert, despite having controlled some of the region's richest trade routes. If Angkor was swallowed up by the jungle after centuries of decline, then the last civilization on this journey vanished amidst the cliffs and deserts of the Middle East. Petra's story shows that a civilization doesn't necessarily have to be wiped out by war or natural disasters. Sometimes, simply by the changing world around us, a once wealthy and powerful city can gradually fade into oblivion. Located in present-day Jordan, Petra is considered one of the most magnificent cities ever built by humans. The city is famous for its structures carved directly into massive sandstone cliffs. Looking at the imposing architectural facades sculpted from monolithic stone, it's hard to believe they were created more than 2,000 years ago. Petra was the center of the Nabatean people, a nation with an incredible ability to adapt to arid environments. While many desert areas were difficult to sustain life in, the Nabateans built a prosperous society by controlling vital trade routes connecting the Arabian Peninsula, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. Petra's wealth didn't come solely from trade. The Nabateans also developed an incredibly efficient irrigation system. They built reservoirs, water channels, and rainwater harvesting structures to utilize every precious water resource in the desert. This allowed them to transform a harsh land into a place capable of sustaining a large population and supporting economic activity on a large scale. Besides their technological achievements, the Nabateans also left a lasting cultural influence. Many researchers believe that their writing system contributed to the formation of important foundations for the later development of the Arabic script. However, Petra's fortunes began to change after the region was incorporated into the Roman Empire. As new trade routes emerged and transportation methods changed, Petra's central role gradually declined. The city lost its strategic importance, and its economic value diminished over time. Major earthquakes in the region continued to damage infrastructure and vital structures. As trade declined and people gradually left, Petra slowly lost its vitality. The city did not collapse in a single moment, but was abandoned for generations. Ultimately, Petra disappeared from the memory of much of the world for centuries. It wasn't until 1812 that the city was rediscovered and once again appeared before humanity. But looking back at Mohenjo-daro, Clovis, Minoan, Angkor, and Petra, a larger question begins to emerge. What truly connects all these vanished civilizations? Looking back at Mohenjo-daro, Clovis, Minoan, Angkor, and Petra, we see that each civilization disappeared in a different way. Mohenjo-daro left behind mysteries that humanity has yet to fully explain. The Clovis may have faced a global-scale natural catastrophe. The Minoans were weakened by prolonged climate and historical changes. Angkor gradually lost its strength as the system that had helped the city thrive could no longer adapt to new circumstances. Petra slowly faded away as trade routes changed and the world no longer needed it as before. But behind all those stories lies a thought-provoking commonality. The people who lived in those civilizations probably also believed that their cities would last forever. They also thought that the massive structures, the complex systems, and the achievements they created would endure through time. Today, we often have a similar feeling. We live in modern cities, use advanced technology, and believe that the world of tomorrow will always be the same as today. But history has repeatedly proven that nothing is permanent. The strongest societies can still change, the wealthiest cities can still decline, and the most brilliant civilizations can still become pages in the history books. Perhaps the greatest lesson the past leaves behind is not the fear of collapse, but a reminder of how we should live. Modern humans need to learn to respect nature instead of trying to conquer everything. We need to understand that the environment is not an inexhaustible resource. We need to build a society based on kindness, honesty, and responsibility, rather than just chasing short-term gains. Ultimately, what remains after hundreds or thousands of years is not the wealth of a generation, but the values that generation leaves for the future. A better world always begins with people who live more ethically, who love more, and who live in greater harmony with nature. History doesn't just tell us about vanished civilizations. History is also silently reminding us how to protect the civilization we live in today. If you could choose to live in one of these 5 civilizations, which one would you choose and why? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to explore more historical mysteries, lost civilizations, and lessons that the past still holds for the present.